Although time has flown by, we are never far apart. The years have passed and now I'm there.
Happy Wednesday! Hello, Sandee. Sandee Facy in Melbourne, Australia. We say Melbourne,
Yeah.
but it's Melbourne.
Spelled the same, pronounced differently.
This is the first I've ever heard. I had no idea we've been pronouncing it wrong all of our lives. Now, just a little background. Sandee and I went to high school together back in Marysville, Michigan. Well, cheers to Marysville, Michigan. Mm-hmm. Sandee and I grew up in the same town in high school. I lived in Port Huron prior to that, in Ohio prior to that. But when I got to the middle of my freshman year, right, because all that crazy stuff. And anyway, so Sandee and I went to high school together, bottom line. And Sandee is an amazing singer. You were probably the first one, you and Turner. What was her name? Turner. I'm Turner too, Christine Turner. And she was also Turner. Peggy Turner, that was her name. Peggy Turner.
Yeah.
Peggy Turner. Peggy Turner. You and her were singing all over.
You know what, though? She's fantastic. She's amazing.
Yes.
And I believe she is in a band at the moment and has been for years with a beautiful muso, fantastic man, heart of gold, David Lenarski.
David Lenarski, amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like so envious. Remember Andrea Koppelberger?
That's what I was just going to say.
Yes, Andrea Koppelberger.
Exactly. Andrea Koppelberger.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
Andrea Koppelberger. She was like
in choir class. It was like Mrs. Butler. Yeah, she Mrs. Campbell.
Yep, Mrs. Campbell.
Yeah. So Andrea, because she was so petite, she was always like in the front, and she had this voice that was like amazing.
It was like American Idol voice. What you hear now on American Idol. Yeah.
So I dabbled in it when I was a bit younger. I would say that, I was born of other people. And, I did have a little cameo with Roger Martin, who's another guy that I went to high school with who has this beautiful baritone voice.
Yes.
And I remember like it was yesterday, like sitting on the stage next to him and, in front of the school. I don't remember what it was for. It was our senior year. And we sang Endless Love.
Oh, nice.
And I forgot the word.
You forgot? Oh, that's awesome. I really enjoyed our Marysville High School. I really enjoyed it. Marysville, you're a very cool area. How did you end up in Australia? Now, we're saying that right? Australia. Melbourne, Australia.
Melbourne, Australia. So I'll give you like the abridged version because I could probably sit here for 3 hours.
I bet. I know, right? Show's only half an hour, so careful.
I'll be quick. So from Marysville, I went to Michigan State. Woo,
yeah, me too.
Go Green. So
go Green.
Go White. Graduated from there with a BA in marketing, and that sent me to Florida, southeastern Florida. And I spent a few years working for the now defunct Eastman Kodak, but it was great time of my life. I really enjoyed that whole southern Florida atmosphere. Spent a lot of time in the Keys, Key West. But my heart. I love it there. I'm a big, huge,
Key West,
massive,
I hear, is amazing.
Massive Jimmy Buffett fan. Just that whole environment. So anywho, about 3 years into living down there, I was out with some girlfriends. One of my friends was just returned. Her name's Patsy. She lives in New York. Just returned from Australia, and we picked up on an accent, and we were like, oh, there's some boys and girls from Australia. And we started this great conversation. And then one thing led to another where they ended up coming to Michigan. There were 2 boys and a girl traveling together. And, it was back in the day where you were like, come for a visit, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I had left Kodak, and they rocked up on Michigan Avenue in this like beater up station wagon, and they're like, "Yay, Mr. Sedgwick!" My dad's like, "Come on to the backyard." So they were like, took him up to the treehouse, all that sort of thing. Well, lo and behold, there was a little bit of apparently like maybe a little bit of a liking between Pete and myself at that time, like just a little, like, oh, he's kind of cute. Oh, she's, So we traveled together. At the time, I was old enough to be able to, throw a backpack on my back and head out west. So I traveled the western states, which I had typically flown over. I traveled with beautiful Australians, like, and we went like out. We went up through Banff, out to Quadra Island, like beyond Vancouver, out into like the middle of the ocean, and we were in this like dinghy with whales, like it was crazy. So anyway, fast forward the same year, they go back to Australia. I decide, you know what, I'm going to take a bit of a sabbatical, and next year I'm going to go and visit Pete, that's my husband, and his family and the friends that I met. So
and see if there's still that spark.
There's still that spark. So, right, we had to find out. So anyway, I went there, and we were engaged in June that year and married in October. So then we decided, let's raise our family in the States. My parents were still alive then. So we lived in St. Clair for 13 years.
You did? I didn't know that. I thought you got married and hightailed it to Australia.
Yeah. No. We decided to live stateside. Back then we were quite young as well. So it was like, oh yeah, we're just going to start our family and, let's see where we go. So, and it gave Pete like an opportunity to like, just, Americans love Australians, and for the most part, Australians love Americans as well. You know what I mean? And it was just it was great to be close to my parents too, during that time period. And so, and then through a job opportunity that Pete received, it was in Melbourne through General Motors, we ended up back in Australia. So now I'm proudly an Australian citizen, as well as an American citizen.
You?
Yeah. So I carried dual citizenship. So it was great. It was a beautiful ceremony. But the accent, I don't have the g'day.
You don't? No, but you still have the Michigan accent. You still have the car. You still have that car and that Michigan thing going on.
Yep.
I love it. So, and you've played music since you were there the whole time.
Yeah, right. So when I was expecting Claudia, this was years and years ago in St. Clair, like I remember distinctly like being on stage and very, very, very pregnant. I have been basically singing everyone else's music my whole life and doing my very, very best, as you would know yourself as well. It's like trying to connect to that lyric, like, okay, well, I'm gonna sing Landslide by
one of my favorites.
And for a long time after my mom passed away, I couldn't sing that song. So it was just a series of duos, bands, that sort of thing, and it's just it's been fun, and I've always had a day job. I've always been doing some sort of like business development. Oh, Kristine, I ran a children's music business here.
That's right. I remember you doing that. I remember. See, I love Facebook. For that reason, I love Facebook.
I know.
Are you still doing that?
No, so I've sold that business to a wonderful friend who's also an American girl. And
beautiful.
Very, very passionate. But I miss that energy. Like I miss. There's something about. I don't think I could do the hard yards of school teaching, because I think that takes a specific person. If they're doing it right, it takes someone who's going to be inspirational 24/7. And I take my hat off to the teachers of the world. Hang on, cheers to the teachers.
Cheers. Absolutely. Let's talk about your music.
Okay.
Let's talk about this. First of all, I've been so excited to follow what you've been doing, especially when you started writing your own music. I guess you've always done it, but never recorded it, or how, because you were with a duo or a band that you called Detroit. What was it? Because I'm like, Detroit, I love it.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Yeah. That was all covers.
When did you turn? When did you start being a singer-songwriter?
Okay. So thanks. That's a great question. So I've always been the kid my whole life that had like, a diary, a journal, jotting things, and ideas and whatnot. So I had always had an intention to learn to songwrite, because I was like, oh, and I plunk around on my acoustic guitar. Not that you'd ever want to hear it live, but I've done a few gigs where I've actually played a song or two. But that's not my forte, so I don't really profess to be an all arounder. But anyway, I set the intention to start to songwrite, and I met up with a friend of mine to start to songwrite, and it happened to be the same weekend that a dear friend of my daughter's, Claudia, was choosing to no longer battle her fight with cystic fibrosis. She was not even 20 years old, and she had been battling her whole life. That weekend that she chose to pass away, I wrote a song called Hummingbird, which I will be releasing. And ever since that time, Kristine, I'm like I don't know, for the better sake of the world, I'm like a portal. Like I have.
Nice. It's just coming.
And I get these creative, just ideas. So with Still That Girl, which is the song that we're talking about today, we'll catch up on Hummingbird later this year.
Okay. I look forward to that.
And it's a tribute to her. Her name's Natalie, and she's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful girl. And I had known her whole life. So anyway, with Still That Girl, I had been chatting with a high school friend of ours who I will, he will remain anonymous, because he decided he didn't, he's like, don't get me in, this just didn't. Anyway, so he was talking to me. He was talking to me about, this is probably very like Californian Zen kind of thing. He was talking to me about a concept called the Thriver Self. And the Thriver Self is a meditation technique where you close your eyes and you're thinking about a time in your life, a childhood memory that brings you freedom, joy, carefree. There weren't any bills. There weren't any, responsibility, and even if, heaven forbid, even if you had a what you believe to be a bad childhood or bad experiences within that childhood,
there's got to be one or two good things in there.
That's exactly right. So most people can tell you, well, I was at the beach, or I was playing this, right? So his Thriver Self was, he was 12 and he was playing baseball, right? And he goes, what's yours? And I'm like, I have no idea, I don't know. And then all of a sudden it came to me. I was in northern Michigan. I was about 10 years old. There was probably, I spent a lot of summers in northern Michigan, but there was probably 3 summers where you couldn't get me off my Honda 50. And my parents back in the day, not that they didn't care about me, but seriously, you could just put in a little tank of gas, and I'd be gone. Sometimes I'd push the bike home. I'd have to push the bike home.
Oh, I love it. And in northern Michigan, it's just so, you can go on and on and on and on and on. I know there are places like that in California, but in northern Michigan in the summer, you're not going to die of heat exhaustion or whatever. You know what I mean? You can.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it was always my goal when I was a kid, and I had like some friends up north as well that we all ran, kind of sort of ran together and had our little mini beats and whatnot. And we would always go to the Porcupine House. And the Porcupine House was this dilapidated old, it used to be a 2-story, but
it's a 1-story now.
You know what I mean? And then there's Porcupine. Yeah. So anyway, that was the birth of the song "Still That Girl."
Very cool.
And then came the challenge, which we accepted, to create a video to replicate the beauty of northern Michigan here in beautiful Australia. So there was a guy by the name of Jay Sweeney who took this song that was produced by Michael Zammett, who, he was the guy that told me, please do not keep your songs in your undies drawer. You need to share them with the world, and it was never an intention to, to write a hit or anything like that. It was just, I like to storytell. So Jay Sweeney took the, kind of like the story, and I had to send him photos of, you know, what a 2-track was. Australians are like, what's a 2-track? I'm like, well, it's actually a true. I know, is that funny? I'm like, it's actually a trail, but it's 2 trails, and
Right.
you know, and kind of just, yeah. So I had to describe that,
Or
so Jay,
the power lines, the power line ones like this. The
yeah,
power line ones, yes.
the power line.
I will never forget being in a Bronco with a friend, and her dad was driving, and I was in the back, and we did one of these and went down, and I actually literally hit my head on the ceiling and came back down in the seat. I'm like, I will never forget that. That was one of the coolest, funnest rides.
2-tracking.
2-tracking. Now, you debuted the video last week, but you came out on iTunes and shot to number 2. You went to number 1. You were at number 1 on the girl.
Oh my goodness! Just on the country iTunes charts. Yeah, and it's, you know, and I'm unknown, I'm unsigned, you know, so it was very like I can't do anything that I do without the support of people that like love my music and care about me, and I hope my intention for the song is that when people listen to it, they connect with the feeling, because their feeling can be completely different than my feeling, and the memory might be completely different. Their thriver self will be different than mine, but it's only a moment away. Like, all you have to do, you could be having like the crappiest day of your life, just everything's going wrong. And if you just take time to close your eyes, do some breathing, and think back on, you know, that wonderful memory, and reconnect with that child, because all that fun stuff that you did when you were a kid, it's still,
just a moment away. That girl is
yes.
still there. That girl is still there. Because that is us. That is who we are. That's our essence, right? That's our essence. Yeah. Driving up 115 just north of Cadillac. It's God's country. List the sound of the Eagles we were singing along to. Take it easy. Wild were my summers on the lazy river, sitting on the deck of the treehouse. Full tank of gas in my little Honda 50, riding along Long Street, singing loud. Still that girl on a mini bike, watching the tall trees passing by. Way to the house of the porcupines, just down that 2-track, lost in time. Local friends sat in folding chairs, round a dancing fire, drinking amaretto. Still hear the sounds of the laughter down the Betsy Valley, under a blanket of stars. Mom and Dad bought this place from a hippie, this house we all know and love. I'm still that girl on a mini bike, watching the tall trees passing by. The way to the house of the porcupines, just down that 2-track, lost in time. Still that girl on a mini bike, watching the tall trees passing by. again. Still that girl. Oh, what a fabulous video.
Greetings from Melbourne again.
Greetings from Melbourne again. Who played the little Sandee Facy?
Oh my goodness. So I'm forever mispronouncing her name, but her name is pronounced just like Halle Berry.
Oh,
Halle
okay.
Berry. So it's Halle Tisma.
Okay.
And she's just a lovely girl. She's an actor here. And she went through a screening process, and that was all handled by Blacklist Productions, which is the company Jay Sweeney runs. And showed up on the day. We drove to Appin, New South Wales in November. And yeah, we had a call time of 5:15 in the morning from a friend.
Oh yeah.
It was super early. And yeah, just with us, you know, I wish I could have worn my sunnies like the whole time, because I was just like, oh, it's so early. Oh my God.
Ah, you mean sunnies? Are these sunnies? Are these called sunnies?
Yeah, sunglasses. That's right. Yeah. We can have a whole chat just about Aussie slang.
I bet. So how did it feel? You released this single when, and you climbed the charts instantly in Australia.
I released the song on the 20th of April, which is a Monday, and which would have been like in Sunday in the States.
Right.
And in the morning I was number 5, and by the time I went to bed that night I was number 1. So you know, it's a debut. Quite frankly, you know, no one knows me. I'm not running with the big guns. I gotta be really humble about this. It's just a chart. It's just a chart. I'm not that girl that I used to be, where I'd second guess myself. I'm not that girl. I'm the girl that says proudly that, you know, I've worked my little Bazinski off for a very, very long time, and it was very rewarding, and it is very rewarding to see how people are receiving the song. And yeah, and I just envision one day when we're out of, you know, all of this isolation, that, you know, I would love nothing more than to have a field of people in front of me singing my song back to me. That is that from an artist standpoint. I got the hair on my arms. That from an artist standpoint, Kristine, like that would be my biggest, and yeah, that would be fantastic. So
that would be the ultimate. Okay, so but I have to ask you something, because I saw on your Facebook, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, where there was a point in time in your life where you actually had a contract to go to Nashville.
Oh, that was
Tell us about that.
Okay, so that was just to record. So it wasn't anything like, let's get that straight. It was to record my first album. Awesome. And this was around the same time, and you saw the date of the contract, just the face of the contract, none of the details, but you could see that I was already like connected. I had sang at Ryman Auditorium, and there was someone there in the audience at the Ryman.
Wait a minute. Back that up. You sang at the Ryman?
Yeah.
You sang at the Ryman? Tell me about that moment. Tell me that experience.
It was
amazing.
The acoustics were amazing. Yeah, I was with a group. I was with a group of you know, young artists, and again, you know, it was just one of those things where it was a surreal moment. And through that performance, I had an opportunity to connect with a studio in Nashville, and you know, it was just one of those things where, you know, life gets in the way. You never lose what you want to do and what you love to do, but you have to trust. I have to trust that the timing is not my own. You know what I mean? The timing is not my own. So at that point in time, I you know, was newly married, and I had just started working at Blue Water Plastics, and that's no longer in Marysville, but I worked as a sales engineer at Blue Water Plastics, and then I was expecting Claudia, and then I was expecting Allie, and it just didn't happen. You know, I didn't pursue that at that point in time. But you know, the funny thing is that even at that point, now that you've brought that beautiful reflection up, I wouldn't have the songs that I have today if they didn't percolate. Do you know what I mean? So let's just say, you know, 21-year-old me would have been in this Nashville studio, probably singing someone else's songs that they were. And hey, I have massive respect for songwriters, massive, and now I guess I can call myself one as well. But I have massive respect, and most artists have, 7 people on a team, writing the hook, writing the this, writing that. So I would have been singing, again, still someone else's music. But who knows? I would have, like, maybe my career would have been.
How do we know?
know.
Who knows, right? But I love
Yeah.
that when you're given the gift of music and you're given the gift of singing and songwriting, it will never go away. And it never leaves you. Right.
Yeah.
So what's next
and
for
if
Sandee Facy?
Oh, me. Oh, okay. What's next?
What's next for you?
Another song coming out.
Okay. Is it
Next
going to
month.
be Hummingbird?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
I'm doing Hummingbirds a little bit later. But I'm doing, and this was a decision that we decided was pretty important given the climate, the COVID climate, and everything that's happening at the moment, right? So I've covered a song by Fleetwood Mac called "Don't Stop." Don't stop thinking about tomorrow.
Don't.
And I've put a country vibe to it. My beautiful, amazing producer, Michael Zammit, who magic happens in that studio. Like he's uber talented. He is an artist himself. And I'll actually share some of his songs that he performs, and he's with a band and all this sort of thing. He's just fantastic. And he's been to LA back in the day. Back in the day, he did some a tour and whatnot. I mean, I think Americans love Aussies, don't they? Like, you got your
the spirit.
Yeah. It's the land
Aussies.
of the long weekend. Like we're doing it tough now. We're doing, everybody, and a lot of people are doing it a lot tougher than others. So I don't claim to preach anything at all. Everybody's got a lot going on, but the spirit, the Australian spirit, is it's contagious. And aside from the jokes about the land of the long weekend and all of that sort of thing, I mean, Australians just have this like camaraderie where they just love each other, and it's not a, geographically speaking, Australia is the size of America, right? Geographically, it's massive, right? But population wise, it is, oh gosh, I hope I don't screw this up. I think we're about 32 mil, something like that. So
Don't ask me.
But when you're looking at a country like America that has 300 million,
right?
So
300 million. Right. See,
don't
ask
it's
me.
good to I know. Same with me. Wait, how about you and I trying to figure out the time zones?
Oh my God. Yeah, it's not yet. And I'm almost empty, which means our interview is almost over.
Okay.
I will take my last sip. I will take my last sip in the last moments. We've been trying to get you in the taxi for so long. You're kind of in my patio now, not my taxi. But
beautiful.
I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, my pleasure. The weather looks beautiful, Kristine.
It is.
And thank you so much for thinking of me. I so appreciate it. Hopefully I didn't bore everybody into
No. I hope our Michigan friends really, they're going to appreciate it. Yeah. So
hashtag still that girl, sister.
Still that girl, right? And I relate to the song on so many levels. It's like, yes, I love it. It's very catchy. I was humming it while we were doing it. I'm very excited for you. I look forward to the next. Yeah. And I'm going to make sure that I post all of your socials too, so that everybody can connect with you and get your music. Where can they find the single?
They can find the single on all digital platforms. So Apple Music, Spotify, you can stream it. You can put it on your favorite playlist. I have a website. I'll be maybe in the near future coming out with just a little something merch wise. Still that girlish wise. Maybe I'll have to come up with some sort of wine glass.
I love it. Yes, please do. Please do. Why not? It's all about the merch these days. It's all about the merch.
Maybe it's one thing, and only because I think it's just awesome that people are connecting with it. So
totally.
Anyway,
it resonates. It really does resonate with you. Cheers, Sandee.
Cheers.
Sandee, I know you as Sandee Sedgwick, but everybody's going to know you as Sandee Facy.
Yeah.
Sandee
Cheers.
Facy, cheers. I'm gonna wrap it up.
Okay, Kristine Turner, keep doing what you do. I love you.
Thank you. That's the beauty of Facebook. Everybody everywhere can share and stay in touch. And
We're all one.
we are. You take
Yeah.
care, Sandee. Thank you for being part of our taxi today. Bye.
Thank you. Can you wait for the real ride?
Still that girl